Okay, let's try this again. So, I'm sorry. I was having some technical difficulties. Um, I tested tested out this equipment, which I have, but I don't know why it's doing the most. And then I tried to get on my phone, and then I tried to do whatever, but you know, whatever. It's all good. I'm here now. You're getting the information, and I'm gonna post this as content as well on TikTok and Instagram and things like that because I'm getting really good, reviews and stuff like that. So that's wonderful. Thank you guys. It's just thanks. I appreciate your support and all that jazz. So enough of me rambling. Um, Whoever shows up, it doesn't matter. Y'all gonna see it anyway. But this is a live event about getting out of debt and stop living paycheck to paycheck. So I am a product of living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't really taught about finances. I had to really pretty much bump my head and learn things myself. So now that I'm doing pretty good at getting out of debt, I wanted to kind of share it with you guys and just give people the ability to ask me any questions that they may have. Um, I know it's not a topic that's regularly talked about, but it's something that I've taken a personal interest in. I started my get out of debt journey last year, but more into that later. But um, but yeah, so without further ado, I will go ahead and get started. And if you see me looking off to the side, it's because my monitor is over here, so um, that's why. But we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So, uh, I'm trying to see if Instagram will actually let me. Yes. Okay. So it is. So it's working. So this is what I present to you as the break the chain and how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. So this live won't really go as go for too long. So it's just a pretty much stock standard information that I feel like people should know. And I hope that you enjoy that portion of it, and we're gonna go ahead and get started from there. Trying to see what format would be the best. Oh, and I'm gone completely. Oh, and it's just me. And okay, I'll just leave it like that. Whatever, that's fine. All right, so get out of debt or break the chain. So, disclaimer, and this is a very prominent disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. This presentation is solely for entertainment purposes only. What else did I write? The opinions of these various topics are my own. Those seeking financial advice, I suggest seeking advice from a licensed financial expert or counselor. Please do your own research about the topics at hand. I am not responsible for any financial misfortunes that you may encounter as a result of this presentation and or any other information that I post on my page. So, there you have it. I don't have any money to if you want the $5 that I have, then I'll gladly give it to you, but don't sue me because you're not going to get anything and you're just going to be out of luck. So, whatever. But yeah, so that's my little disclaimer. Do not sue me. Um, I have not been, nor have I ever been a financial advisor. So do with this information what you will. All right, so about me, for those who don't know me, my name is Kennedy. I am currently 26 years old. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and I graduated in December from college, December of 2020, from college from the University of Texas at San Antonio with my business admin degree. And like I said before in the beginning, I started my financial debt journey March of 2023, which is last year. So just to kind of give you an update about what where I was and versus where I am now. So my debt before I started my journey, I was at $100,131.38. Yes. And right now, I have gotten my debt down substantially to $52,488. And most of this stems from student loans and cars, from car payments. And that's a whole nother story about how I got into so much car debt. It's mostly car debt, honestly, but that's another story entirely. But, um but yeah, I was able to knock off $50,000 within a year, and if I can do it, you can do it. So far on my get out of debt journey, I am officially, number 1, out completely out of credit card debt. I have no credit card debt whatsoever. I cut up all my cards, and I don't have any debt for credit cards, number 1, yay to me. Number 2, I have 22,000 left on student loans, which I will be paying off at the end of this year. So, yay. So I'll be officially out of student loans by the end of this year. And yeah, that's great for me. And then I'm gonna get after I get out of student loans, then I will my original plan is to get out of my car loan by getting a personal loan. And because right now my car is underwater, and we'll talk about that more so as we, get on. But my car is underwater currently for $10,000. It's a long story. I got really screwed with this car debt, and I'll probably talk about that on the next slide, which, yeah, I think, yeah, it is on the next slide, but terrible, terrible, terrible. So now they don't have anything to say about my, debt to income ratio. So screw car companies. But anyway, that's who I am. I feel like I have enough information. As you can see in my pictures, I've been, talking to this and talking to this topic up for people um, for about a year now. So I feel like I have enough information to share and I have enough experience to give on this topic. So I feel like I am the perfect person. And plus, people know me. So, that is, it is. So that is who I am. So, let's talk about how I got started. So, why I got started. I had a come to Jesus moment last year in March of thir of 2023. And just to kinda paint you a picture, I had graduated college at this point. I was making a whole bunch of money, well, a whole bunch of money from, not having anything as a college student, but, had my own job, I got a car, as you can see in the picture. Um, yeah, I was just, like, living life, going on trips, just doing whatever I wanted to do, not really worrying about the budget, but every single time that, I would find myself even in that situation, living paycheck to paycheck. I couldn't understand why I wasn't, saving money or, things like that, and, always, having just, like, this just not having any, and I started because, again, like I said, I had an epiphany, and as you can see on the slide, in 3 months, January to March of 2023, I made over $12,000. So that is including, I have a couple of side hustles, my regular job, and then, some things off to the side that Oh, and my birthday was that year as well, so I got, birthday money, which all equaled up to $12,000. And after bills, it was $10,000. So, paying my car note, um, all the, other expenses that, one would occur, on a monthly basis. And um, that kinda that left me rather with, the 10K. Why why March 2023? In 3 months, I blew $12,000. I only had $556 to my name in the bank and credit card debt on top of that. Stupid. Like, to this day, I don't know how that happened, but I know that I was like I said, like you see in these pictures, I was, in the background here, you can see the Beyoncé concert. I was spending money on the Beyoncé concert. I got a new car. The car note at the time was, $600, uh, but $600. And then, as you can see, I'm on a train in Paris, just living the dream, or so I thought. And I had blew $12,000 in 3 months. And from that point on, I had to ask myself, why am I continuously broke? Why am I continuously, like, living paycheck to paycheck? Why do why am I basically bartering with, like, Christmas cards or Christmas money or my birthday money or, things like that, trying to make ends meet, trying to go out. My card is getting declined, like, it was there was no excuse for me to be that broke and splurge on $12,000, and I got a work bonus. I got a work bonus that year, that's included in the $12,000. Gone, like, just all gone in the matter of months, and from that point on, I knew that something had to change. So, that is, essentially why I got started. I just had to take a long, deep look at myself and figure out, "Why am I broke? Why do I not have any money at the end of the month?" And I was just basically, like, tired of living. I was tired of having my car declined. I was tired of not being able to do things that I wanted to do. I felt, trapped with the bills. Even though I could afford the bills at the time that I had them, I was having trouble making bill payments, being behind on different things. When I had 12 like, I had an extra amount of $10,000 that I don't know what happened to, and that I don't know about y'all, but I didn't grow up with, just $10,000 just coming off into the sky, so there is something desperately wrong that I need to change. I was doing way too much, so which brings me to my why, but in the sense of why I want to, kinda talk to you guys about this. I know that some people are in the same position I was, and I wanted to discover, or I wanted to share more so why we get into debt as a society. So, why we get into debt? Why do we get into debt? I have 5 reasons. Number 1 reason, influence. So, I am sure that each and every one of y'all have heard one of these phrases before. "Oh, you always have a car loan. Oh, you always be in debt. Loans are an investment in your future. You always borrow money. That's just the way it is. You can't go to school without loans. You need a credit card. I deserve it." Like, just all of these people telling you all these things, just clucking about nothing that they don't understand. They're in the same position as you, but yet they're trying to give you financial advice on, what's right and what's wrong. Like, it's wrong. Like, I don't like, just kinda, like, looking back, if just watch who you have around you is, pretty much what I would say. Watch the voices that you let in your head. Watch, the different people that are, trying to give you advice on these different things, and because a lot of these things will have you caught up, like, that's one thing that had me caught up. I listened to people, as it pertains to, student loans, like, they'll give an 18-year-old without a job, student loans, and I felt that I had to go to school and take out student loans because, of course, I thought my parents couldn't afford it or what have you, and, that's just a way of life, that's just what it is, but it doesn't have to be that way if you plan correctly now and then have a better nest egg and put yourself in a better position on the long term, but again, I say all that to say when you know better, you do better, so you can have these people talking to you about, what you should do or what the right thing to do, but many of us don't really know what the right thing to do, and that's how we, fall into these traps, so just be aware of that as you go on in life. So, the second reason that I find that is pretty common actually is something that I also, again, fell victim to was the lifestyle creep. And what lifestyle creep is we all heard it before, the rat race cycle or AKA the lifestyle inflation. So basically, it's a notion of we make more, so we spend more, going on more vacations, upgrading cars, on debt, eating out more, etc. So as you can see in this little illustration right here, you have the person, he goes to work, he has income, he gets bills, he has a responsibility. I just went through all of that whole cycle. That's exactly the cycle that I was in. I went to work, I got an income that I've never seen before because I'm just coming out of college, had a bill, and after I paid all my bills, I spent all of the rest of the money on my lifestyle, so going on vacation, doing a whole bunch of things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, and then that leads me to no savings, and then, as for me trying to keep up with the lifestyle that I wanted, that I created for myself with debt, I now get into more debt and more loans, and which makes me work harder and, get the income, and it's just a terrible cycle that when you think about it, but yeah, lifestyle inflation is definitely one of the bigger killers of why people get into debt and why people start living paycheck to paycheck. So, if you can get control of at least this portion of your getting out of debt cycle or just stop living to paycheck, I believe that, you'll be definitely more better off, so but, speaking of things that kind of get us caught up in the rat race and the rat cycle, that kind of brings me to my next point, which is keeping up with the Joneses, and I know that we have all heard this phrase before, so without further ado, um, keeping up with the Joneses, buying stuff that you don't need with money that you have to impress people that you don't know or don't like. I actually just talked about this topic, not too long ago just to post some excerpts on, social media or what have you, but when it really comes down to it, this portion of it really doesn't make sense. You're you are going to spend your hard-earned money buying things that you pretty much you don't need, like, you don't like, Gucci or Louis or, what have you, but since everybody else has it, and since, you don't wanna be the one that's square out in your friend group, you go out and buy those things too. Or, somebody talks about your car, "Oh, you've been driving that car since high school. Oh, you need to upgrade. Oh," and, like, and also the flexing culture as well kinda makes it worse. So, it's 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 a shame, and you know what? I get it because I had to mind you, so little short tidbit, I've been in therapy for about 3 years now, and one of the things that I have learned about myself and that is not foreign to other people as well is the notion of self-esteem and just, buying these things, and I gave the example of, in my other video of this dorky Debbie. Uh, she I created this whole persona. Dorky Debbie is has always been, the nerdy kid, that grew up. Nobody liked her. She always got bullied or what have you. And then she grows up, she goes to school, she starts making a whole bunch of money, and then she has the opportunity to stunt and flex on these other people in high school or in, elementary school or wherever she was that, talk bad about her. So she's buying all of these things to make up for the self-esteem that she should have had within herself. But because she's looking for external validation on, social media or from these people that she doesn't even like, then that's what happens. So be careful, honestly, be careful about trying to keep up with other people's lifestyles because I know for a fact that people on social media, and I know that we can all attest to this, most of the things aren't true. Like, I just kinda going back to, where I was on this slide, why I started. I'm in Paris, I'm, taking, all these pictures, like, I got this car didn't have a dime. I didn't have a dime in my pocket to pay for all of these excursions, but you'll see me you can go on my social media right now. I posted, plenty of pictures of me, in Paris and, Barcelona and, all these things, just trying to, just being transparent. I didn't have a I didn't have a quarter. I didn't have a quarter to spend. I spent all my money. I went to overseas with, I think, um, $2,500 and I left with 500. And that 500 was quickly, evaporated because of, a situation of, me being over there and then losing, missing my flight, and that's an e that's another here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Um, but yeah, like, a lot of people stunt and flex on social media, and it's not true. They're just, trying to nobody it's a highlight reel. Nobody posts the downfall or, the things that they're actually going through, um, within, their own life cycles and, things like that, so it's honestly, it's not worth it. You run your own race. You need to do the things that you wanna do. Don't buy things that you want because it'll feel like you'll make yourself important because you can't buy self-esteem. That is a gift that is free that you've had all along, and you need to find different ways to discover it because trying to keep up with other people's facades on social media is not it, essentially. So, but again, I get it. All of these things that I'm telling you about is something that is everything that I experienced personally, and I know that my situation wasn't unique, and I know that, a lot of this can help people if it's, being put in their face, so, um, yeah, so don't keep up with nobody. Everybody's not as it seems, but, um, so the 4th reason that people get into debt is something that I want to touch on as well is emergencies. And these are, things outside of our control, um, not like the, lifestyle creep and, keeping up with other people. There are also some serious situations in which drives us to get into debt. So I kind of wanted to hit on the emergency portion of it as well. So yeah, emergencies happen. Things happen and things happen that you possibly can't control. You get laid off, somebody in your family gets sick, something happens to you, something drastic happens, and it's just the throes of life. So, what do you do when these things happen? Well, there's not much that you can do to control it, but what you can do is not stress yourself out even more by not having a plan and not being in the position to respond. So, like I said, things happen, the throes of life. Um, people get sick. There are natural disasters that happen. You can lose your job. You can, anything drastic can happen to you within a couple of days or, a month spans or, whatever the realm of life that you're on, um but yeah, the number one thing that you can control is your stress levels, and you don't want to stress yourself out in these situations by not having a plan and, like I said, not being in the position to respond. So, don't put yourself in that position. And finally, the 5th reason that we tend to get in or tend to be living paycheck to paycheck is our budget. So, not having a budget. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You're not like I said in the previous slide, you don't have a budget, you don't have a plan, so you're not prepared for these emergencies. You're not prepared for, just everyday living, so you consume everything that you make, and, you have your job with the lifestyle creep, and then, you think that you have more than you actually do in your budget for the emergency, so you spend your extra income on keeping up with the Joneses and, just trying to afford the life that you want on budget, or I mean, I'm sorry, on debt, and this primarily happens without a budget, so eh it's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. It's up to you to have a budget and to plan out your life financially and so that other things can come into play, but I will talk about that more so later in the slides. So, now that I have covered how you stop living paycheck to paycheck, what actually can you or what the reasons why rather that we live paycheck to paycheck, how can you stop? It's actually pretty simple. I have it down to a science. Again, this stuff I was in the same situations last year, and this year I was able to knock off $50,000 from my original $100,000 debt, so I'm knocking it off pretty quickly, and these are the things that have helped me personally with my get out of debt journey and how I'm comfortably living a lifestyle that doesn't have or doesn't include debt and living paycheck to paycheck. So, this is it. Just 3 things that you have to do to primarily stop living paycheck to paycheck. Number 1 is getting on a budget. Like I just said, one of the reasons that we live paycheck to paycheck is we don't know where our money is going. Like I said, I spent I spent $12,000 in 3 months, and I did not know where my money went. I paid all my bills, even with my bills paid with $10,000. I still don't know where $10,000 went. So, it's and it's so irresponsible to not know where your money is going and, where it can ebb and flow, and it's just really important to actually sit down month by month and plan out a budget, and need a budget, don't worry, I got you. You can DM me. I have a budgeting workbook actually that I will give out for free. Like I said, I have free resources that I can share with you guys, so that's what I'm doing. But, yeah, DM me if you need the budgeting workbook, totally free. I'll send it to you, no big deal. So, number 1 is getting on a budget. Sorry, I'm a little parched, but but, yeah, so definitely get on a budget month by month is the first thing. The second thing you need to do, and this is a game changer, is to save an emergency fund of $1,000. Take out a pair of scissors. Take out a pair of scissors right now, take out your wallet, and cut up all of your credit cards. And the next check that you get, which, the first was a couple weeks ago or a couple of days ago, so if you haven't just got paid, you're about to just get paid. So, save an emergency $1,000. So, do your budget, whatever that you have left over from, food and, shelter and your rent, things like that. Put it towards an emergency fund of $1,000 and only save $1,000 and put that off to the side in an account that you don't touch, but is easily accessible. So, for example, I have a Capital One account that is a high yield savings account. It makes about 4% per month. So I put my $1,000 in there, and while it's sitting in there, it also, grows interest as well. So, but it's also easily accessible too. So if you have an emergency that you have to quickly, transfer funds from account to account, you're going to want an emergency fund that's easily accessible for you. But yeah, definitely save an extra $1,000. It gives me I was about to say it gives me great joy, but I'm not a poet or, what have you. But it really does help to see that you have an extra $1,000 if you don't when an emergency comes up. For example, I was at the dentist, a month or so ago, and I have a subscription service at my dentist, and mind you, I had budgeted out all my money. I didn't budget for the dentist office because I'm on the every 6 months cleaning schedule. I have a subscription, unlimited, X-rays and all that jazz, so I paid $200 a month for that, or $200 a year for that subscription, and I get all this stuff free. Well, my subscription, needed to be renewed the last time that I went to the dentist, and by that time, I had spent all my money because I had budgeted out all my money, and wasn't accounting for, going to the dentist and paying them the extra subscription fee at that point. But luckily, I had that emergency $1,000 that I could use to, be able to pay that, and I could have, to still have my subscription service going. So it's really important to have that extra $1,000 that you don't touch, but it's just there for emergencies. So if your car breaks down, if you need a tire, if you need, like I said, in my situation, I had to go and, repay the dentist, which I didn't know that the subscription service was up, so but luckily I had that extra saving on the side, so it really does help, and I haven't ever since I paid off all my credit cards, I haven't touched them at all, and I didn't feel a need to, and it wasn't tempting because I had that extra $1,000, so it's kinda like you're loaning money to yourself, just to put it that way, but yes, extra $1,000 definitely helps. And finally, getting out of debt. So I stress this point the most. Your largest I wanna say moneymaker, but your your income is the biggest thing that you have pretty much, and you don't want to give away your income to or you don't wanna keep giving away your income to, the credit card companies, your student loans, or your car loans, or, whoever else you owe. Lord help you if you owe family, but you need to get out of debt. And getting out of debt is something that we should all strive to do. It's just that, like I said, with all of the reasons that we live paycheck to paycheck, wouldn't it imagine a life that you didn't have to pay rent, you didn't have to pay a card note, you didn't have to pay credit card bills. All you had to do was pay the minimal bills that you occur on a monthly basis, like, lights, water, gas, and then food. Imagine how much you can save. Imagine how generous that you could be, when you're tipping, your delivery drivers or you're tipping, whoever are able to actually help people, in need. How much money that you'd have left over if you didn't have debt. And again, we get ourselves into debt, and nobody's holding a gun to our heads to make us go out and buy and do and, credit and everything like that. So, getting out of debt is primarily the biggest thing that you need to do if you want to get out of middle class and move forward in life. So and it's very possible, like I said, I'm about to pay off my student loans at the end of this year. Um, do whatever it takes, like, I got a pizza job, to pay off my, student loan debt, and that's the re and just on top of having my regular job, so I'm paying it off like that. Like, whatever you have to do to stop owing people and to get out of debt and get this monkey off your back is highly recommended, and it's the biggest game changer that I can express on this entire live stream. So, getting out of debt is key. It is the major key. It will lead to a life that is less stressful for you, and it will help to with the money that you save by not getting into debt, by not having your money go out to pay all of these people, you will then add to your family legacy. So, it is really important to get out of debt, but like I said, I do have a free workbook that goes over how to do all of this. So, if you want it, hit me up, DM me, and I will get that over to you. But that's it. That it's pretty simple to stop living paycheck to paycheck. It's all of this if I could sum this up in one word, is to be responsible and to have discipline. I guess those are 3 words, but, yeah, have discipline, have a plan, be responsible, take care of your responsibilities, and don't squander everything that you earn. So, that's it. I mean, it's just that simple. But, I am open for questions. I see a couple of people on the live stream, but, I don't think anybody has questions that I see. But if you do have questions, feel free to hit me up online, and some of this material will be presented via TikTok and via Instagram as, shorts or reels or whatever. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Kennedy's Corner. I just made that up. Kennedy's Corner. How to stop living paycheck to paycheck. If you need any help, DM me. I got you. And until next time, au revoir.